Accountability matters, and no one is above the law. Now imagine that same system quietly cutting million-dollar checks to people who broke its own rules and calling it closure. That tension is what made this Senate hearing matter. Not the personalities, not the politics, but the gap between what institutions say out loud and what they reward behind closed doors. That gap came into focus when Senator John Kennedy questioned FBI Director Kash Patel about past misconduct inside the Bureau and who ultimately pays for it. When Senator Kennedy raised the settlement payouts to former FBI officials Lisa Page and Peter Strzok, he read directly from Strzok's text message about Donald Trump. No, he won't. We'll stop it. Kennedy then asked the obvious question, why were 2 senior officials removed for documented bias, paid roughly $2 million total after the fact? Director Patel's response was careful and revealing. He didn't defend the conduct. He didn't defend the payout. He explained that the decision was made by the prior administration's attorney general. That's not an answer, it's a handoff. And that's why this moment resonates with ordinary Americans. Because most people don't get settlements after violating workplace standards. They get fired, they move on, they absorb the consequences. Here, the consequences were absorbed by taxpayers instead. This exchange wasn't about left versus right.
In its investigation that they hated President Trump and they really wanted Secretary Clinton to win. Is that true?
That's correct, sir.
And this would be the same same Ms. Page who sent an email to Mr. Strzok with whom she was having an affair. Trump's not ever going to become president, right? And Mr. Strzok with the FBI, senior official at the FBI, replied, quote, no, he won't. We'll stop it. Did I read that correctly?
You did, Senator.
Okay. Now, Ms. Page got quit before she could get fired. Mr. Strzok was fired. And predictably, they filed a lawsuit because in Washington, it's easier to divorce your spouse than it is to fire a federal employee. Why did the FBI give Mr. Strzok $1.2 million and Ms. Page $800,000 to settle a lawsuit?
Senator, I do not know that settlement was reached in the prior administration.
Who made the decision?
The prior Department of Justice.
Who in the prior Department of Justice?
The settlement for that kind of case can only come from the Attorney General, which would be Attorney General Merrick Garland.
So the Attorney General decided to give Mr. Strzok $1.2 million and Ms. Page $800,000 after they were fired after actively interfering in the 2016 election. Is that right?
My understanding is that was a settlement they agreed to.
Pass me the sick bucket, please. The Hunter Biden laptop. In October of 2016, shortly before the election, the New York Post wrote a story that was widely covered talking about Mr. Hunter Biden's influence peddling scheme based on his laptop. A couple of weeks later, Secretary of State, soon to be Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, organized a group of 51 so-called intelligence experts. Had some real rock stars on the list. Jim Clapper, John Brennan, Michael Hayden, Leon Panetta, and they said, oh, no, the story in the New York Post is not true. It's based on Russian disinformation. You remember that?
I do, Senator, as the lead investigator for Russiagate for the House Intel Committee.
Yeah. The FBI had the laptop for 10 months, hadn't they?
They did, Senator.
So the FBI knew right before the election that it wasn't Russian disinformation, didn't they?
And that was confirmed by the Inspector General's report.
Yeah. Who at the FBI refused to let the FBI tell the American people the truth?
I don't have that name in front of me, sir.
Well, would you look?
I will, sir.
I'd like to know. I'd like a name, not a division. I'd like the name. Person with a brain and a beating heart.
Yes, sir.
Did Jeffrey Epstein hang himself or did somebody kill him?
Senator, I believe he hung himself in a cell in the Metropolitan Detention Center.
Are you going to release all the information about that?
Senator, we are working through that right now with the Department of Justice.
When do you think you'll have it done, Kash?
I think in the near future, sir.
Like before I die?
Senator, we've been working on that, and we're doing it in a way that protects irrelevant for production to the public, such as CSAM.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
What this hearing ultimately showed is not a single scandal, but a system built to diffuse blame and concentrate protection. When accountability is procedural instead of personal, trust erodes quietly. Not because of outrage, but because people notice patterns. And once the public starts expecting that the system will always protect itself first, restoring confidence becomes far harder than losing it ever was.